itself. And another thing to talk about here, and I won't go into the interior planets like Mars and Venus and Mercury and the Sun and the Moon. They just move too fast to deal with in this kind of a reading, and especially since I'm just doing a brief overview, I don't want to get too deep into that. Another thing here would be Saturn. We talked about Saturn. His natal Saturn right now is getting hit by Pluto, but Saturn itself right now is sort of moving through his 10th house of career and reputation and recognition. This is when we have a strong 10th house, like this individual actually does have a very strong 10th house up top here. That's right about this location. We can see 2 planets there and another planet down below even further. That's Mercury, Sun, Mars, and the North Node. This is a heavily populated 10th house. So this person is quite ambitious when it comes to being recognized. That's pretty evident. This person wants to be out there, wants to be known in some form or another. And with Mercury in the 10th house, they want their voice heard. And with the issues like the Chiron in the 3rd house, this has definitely been an issue throughout his life. But right now, with that healing going on, this is a real opportunity to get himself out there, to get his voice out there. And along with that, we have a very populated 9th house in this person's chart. So the 9th house, obviously right next to the 10th house, so we pointed out the 10th is about right there, and the 9th is about right here. We have 3 planets in the 9th house. So here's someone with a lot of ideas, a lot of sort of mind-expanding ideas. So someone who, they believe what they believe, and they believe it strongly, and this is a type of person that, might prolexitize. However we say that word, prolexitize. I have a hard time saying that word. But basically project their beliefs onto others, and to have a very strong opinion about beliefs. So when someone throws beliefs on them, they're not so big on adopting that, but they'll certainly throw it on other people. But the point is, this person really likes mind expansion. So writing, speaking, anything to do in that realm would be huge for this person. So internet is something that really falls in the 9th house. It's this long distance communication that really falls under this 9th house realm. So this is someone that could really, publish something, publish a book or publish a blog or publish some kind of work, and this would be really enjoyable for this person. And this time period with this, Saturn going to the 10th house, which is challenging him to put himself out there. It's challenging him to, stand up to obstacles, because Saturn in the 10th house, let's face it, it's an obstacle-ridden path. And Saturn's been in his 10th house since roughly, I want to say, the summer of 2008. So it's been a little over a year now that Saturn's been in his 10th house. And the beginning part of that, in the sort of fall to spring period, was a pretty, probably a difficult period of hurdles and period of coming up against obstacles. But the fortitude that this individual has, as evident by the natal chart, in this realm of being recognized, probably hasn't deterred them too much. It's just sort of helped form their path in a way. So they head off in one direction, things don't work out, and then they end up on these paths that they didn't expect in the beginning, but now it's actually working out for them, and they're actually heading where they want to head, but it was more difficult than they expected. And that, we can all relate to that. But this is suggesting that this time period has been especially heavy in that theme, at least. And also, looking at this, coming up now, between now and, say, actually between about November and, say, summer of 2010. Summer of 2010, this is going to be a really, really intense time period for everyone. Everyone. I mean, and I'll have other talks on here in writing about what I think this means for the U.S. and more on the broad scale. But everyone individually is going to really feel this. What's happening is Saturn and Uranus are, first of all, they're in opposition for the first time since the 1960s. And they've been in opposition this time since November 2008. So from November 2008 through about the end of the summer 2010, so just about 2 years, they're in this opposition. It's the first one in over 40 years. Okay, and now this opposition is all about the structure of Saturn versus the creative, revolutionary change associated with Uranus. And wouldn't you know it, the first day that this was exact was November 4th, 2008, the day that Obama got elected. And we would definitely face as a country between this same old Saturn versus new Uranus. And because Uranus is an outer planet, whenever these two are in opposition, it's always a time period of structures being broken down. Eventually. Not easily, but eventually, because it's time for change. You all remember that Brady Bunch song, it's time for change, and Peter Brady's voice cracking and all that. But that's the kind of time period this really is. And so this is happening in everyone's life as well. And for this individual, it's happening between the 10th and the 4th house. We talked about the 10th house, where Saturn is, and where Uranus is in the 4th house. And so they're battling. They're opposing each other on different ends of the chart. So the 10th house being up top, and the 4th house being down below. And that opposition is tugging between what am I being out in the world versus what's going on inside. And that can also manifest physically as sort of job versus home. Job versus home. That struggle. What do I put more time into? Is my home calling me when I want to be working? Is my work calling me when I'm stuck at home? All these things are feeling like a total imbalance, but that's really what is up in the air right now for this individual, is balancing those two realms of life, balancing the internal and all that stuff related to home and emotions and our foundation, and balancing that with what we are out there, what we are out in the world, our reputation, what people see us as. You might work in a factory, but you might people that know you, maybe you are the leader of the group, and so that leadership is sort of what you are to the world. And so applying what people see you as, and applying what your role is, is a different story. In this case, there's a lot of intensity and ambition related to actually applying themselves in the world, and that's something that is highlighted right now. This is a time period to figure out how, based on what's coming up, based on what the support systems are demanding, and what sort of issues are coming up, how do we then take that information and go out in the world and do what we want to do? And so this is an important period. And all the while, with this opposition, Pluto is starting to come into what's known as a square, or 90 degrees. And so if we think of Saturn and Uranus opposing each other, kind of from top to bottom here, Pluto is down on this side over here, and it's sort of halfway in between. So it's forming a 90-degree angle to Uranus and a 90-degree angle to Saturn. And this conjunction, this triple configuration involving Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto is very intense. They're all outer planets, all slow moving. This on a sort of planetary scale, it's a very intense time period. It's the general time period between 2008 and 2015. But I'm focusing mostly on 2010 right now.